Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined this week by my merry band of misfit cohorts. We have Boss Man with us this week.
What's up, everyone?
And
I'm fixing a couple things with the stream, so if you guys are not seeing our show, I'm sorry. We'll get it updated and fixed next week.
Yep. So, while I'm streaming, he's doing the behind-the-scenes stuff that keeps everything from exploding, so, you know. And we also have everyone's favorite little pink puffball, teacher of the Kirby variety.
Hello. I am here. I have a sore throat, but I am here.
I thought her internet's exploded for a moment. But, anyways, got quite a bit of interesting stuff to get through this week, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first big thing we have is the Reengineering.
You know, I will say this right now. This is one of those things that I was waiting for since crafting came out. And this is why I stole it from Chris.
Brother.
This is one of the reasons I stole this from Chris. This is, like, anyone who knows me knows that I've always been big on crafting. And that's one of the things that I've always worked on. In fact, I made a number of videos for it that's up on YouTube. But, you know, being able to have better choice to get the mods that you want to get on your ship and your weapons. And this is what Reengineering is you drop your weapons in there and you unlock those items, and it costs the lithium and it costs salvage to get it, and to do it, and you just keep re-rolling until you get what you want. There is some restrictions, of course, like set weapons. You can't do those yet.
Actually, you can do a few of them.
You can do a few of them, but there's a lot of them that you're not going to be able to do.
Yep.
But you know, the other thing I should mention on this when it comes down to it is the Epic mod. This is a huge change. The Epic mod, they're adding more mods for it. So if you didn't like the damage and accuracy, you got other mods. You can get like a double crit D, a double accuracy, a double. I think there's even a crit H, and such.
Yeah, there's crit H. There's a crit D damage. There's double accuracy, double crit severity.
Crit H damage.
Double crit H.
Yeah.
But there's a mix of crit H, accuracy, and crit D. I mean, they run the gamut. There is no double damage, so those of you that are thinking ahead, going, "Ooh, I want double damage,"
It's a shame, though.
And
I
ain't gonna get that. But
there's actually a reason for that, and it makes sense when we think about it. That's because at Epic, any of the weapons you have, they have a hidden damage modifier. It's not one that actually just shows up. It's kind of there. You can see it in the numbers, but you can't actually see it on the weapon itself, if that makes sense. So a damage times 2 would technically be a damage times 3, and you could technically have a damage times 7 weapon. So
yes,
they kind of want to limit that.
Yeah, that would be a massive thing. Everyone would go for that if that came up.
Yep. But
yeah.
you know, we've been playing with it ourselves
But,
here on the show, so I did do a little bit of math
Yes,
for you
we
guys and everything, and testing. I know I've tested with Timberwolf, I've tested, I know I've spitballed with Kirby and Boss Man a little bit too, but I'm finding on average to get the mod that you want is between 5 to 7 rolls. Now you could get it on the first try, you could get it a lot sooner, you could get it a lot later. I think the highest I've seen is 17 rolls, and that's assuming it just absolutely flips you the bird. But
wow, that's
5 to 7.
Because I've done from doing
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I've done
typically-
with doing changing every single mod
Mhm.
on the weapon, and the most I've had to roll to get exactly what I want was 9. And that's, you know, roll, oh, one of them went, stop that one, and roll the others, and, you know, and keep rolling until I get what I want.
Yeah. Now, the thing to take note of, and they have a nice little video that shows like a basic demonstration of it, and you know, it starts off at X amount, and then it drops down as you go and unlock more and more of the mods. But it costs lithium to do it, and then it also costs salvage to do it. So those are the two things you're going to have to be stacking up and stocking up on. The lithium,
Yes.
obviously, for the dilithium sink of stuff in the game to try and pull it out of the game. Salvage is one of the things that comes when you break
It's
down
new.
parts.
Yep, it's a new thing.
Yes. Salvage is a thing. It's gonna come out. Basically, when you take those items that you pick up from loot and or from crafting, and you decide you don't want it, well, in the past we've always just sold it to a vendor or put it on the exchange. Well, now you have a third option. You can trade it in for salvage. Of course, the amount you get from salvage will depend on the mark and rarity of the item, and the biggest increase that you see is from increasing the rarity of an item of the same mark. So, for example, a Mark 7 purple will give you 153 salvage, whereas a Mark 7 epic will give you 611. So, big difference.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, you get a few crafting materials and you get salvage from choosing to salvage an item.
So that's some of the other things that's really big that's with this new Reengineering, and it's really going to be nice because some people got weapons and they just kind of stuck with them, but they went the perfect like full set on that they wanted, so you can completely upgrade and change into it. But when it comes down to it, there is a few items that you cannot go through and re-engineer. Warp and
You
Singularity
cannot
cores.
change, right?
Yeah, so you got Warp and Singularity cores, which I hope they change that, honestly.
The preeminent right now is the only
Right.
exception to the rule.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And consoles, kit frames, reputation items, and then feature episode rewards. I kind of understand the consoles, kit frames, and reputation. Well, not really reputation items. I kind of wish reputation items was included in that list with a set item that you could re-roll, like
Now,
when you get.
There are a few
Some-
exceptions to that rule too.
Yes,
So
yeah. There's a few exceptions to all these items here, what you can and cannot do, but
The
Because, for
surprisingly,
example, I was able.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was able to re-engineer my kinetic cutting beam and my radiant anti-proton, advanced radiant anti-proton beam. I was able to re-engineer both of those. Now the kinetic beam, I could only roll one mod and then the epic mod. But with the advanced radiant anti-proton, I didn't have a problem. But I did notice that you cannot salvage the reputation gear.
I think
that's kind of an interesting thing right there. But I kind of understand it because it's kind of special, unique stuff. But you know, it is one of those things. It's going to be interesting to see how far they open this up down the road, because they probably will start opening it up more and more. And it could be that some of the things that are not in the list is not in the list because they haven't decided how they want to rebuild those for the reengineering section. So
That is true.
that's something to keep in
But-
mind, because if you think about the warp and singularity cores, those could have great benefit if you could have more modifications you can do with them, and be able to get those mods that you're really looking for. So you have to craft less of those if you make your own set, for example.
But I do think that they did get this right. It's a relatively low cost, 500 dilithium per mod per roll is the most you're gonna pay. And the cost in dilithium does go down by 100 per mod if you roll multiple mods on a weapon. So it goes from 500 to 400 to 300 to 200 to 100 as you add it on. So that's, I think they did that right. That is a good thing. But then adding the salvage cost gives you a reason to still farm or still play on top of the dilithium cost.
Yeah. Now they are toying with the idea of increasing the cost of with the lithium. So that's something. No. Yes, they are.
A nice low dilithium cost. Now, see, to me, a nice low dilithium cost puts it within reach of everybody fairly easily, so it's going to encourage people to use it more than increasing the cost, and people go, well, that costs too much, screw it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know one of the big things for me is, like Boss Man was saying a little bit ago, being able to re-roll some of your items if you've got one-off stuff like that. Me, personally, I'm a fan of pedigree weapons in games. Stuff like DMG4, Crit D4, and everything, just because that's what I like rolling, and for me as a tank, that's what I feel I get the most bang for my buck with, and everything. So, for me, there's a couple of ships that, like say if I've been using Coalition Disruptors on my Kelvin, a couple of those, that I've had maybe a DMG times 3 and then it's went to something like AC, or it's went to something like Crit D. The Crit D itself, it's not bad to have that as a one-off. Heck, even the one of AC isn't going to kill me, but it's not where I would want it to be. So being able to re-roll that to squeeze a little more out of it is going to be a heck of a lot better.
Awesome!
Oh yeah. So,
yeah, I can't wait. If this goes on to holodeck as it stands now on Tribble, yes, thank you God.
Now there are a few bugs with it and everything, which one of them I will touch base on when we get to the bugs corner, but I am testing that. I'm trying to provide feedback for you guys. I know all of us are trying to provide feedback. I don't think they're going to increase the deal costs and everything from the way I'm seeing everybody talking. They've toyed with the idea.
Yeah, I really hope not.
Anyways, like I say, we're talking about this quite a bit because this is a very big game changer. This is something that I would highly encourage you guys to get on Tribble, test it out, and everything. That way you can kind of figure out, okay, I've got this bit of gear I might want to change around, stuff like that. And the other big thing, too, that I'm seeing with this is you're probably going to see a lot of these oddball energy types that are hard to get good mods for possibly make a resurgence, like Corrosive Plasma, as one example. I know when Kirby helped me build my Corrosive ship, one of the beams, I think it ended up being, wasn't it the DMG2 Crit D that we bought was like 60 million or something like that?
Oh.
One of them ended up being stupidly expensive, but now even if, say, I just pick up
like none out there.
Exactly. So say I pick up even just an Act 3, I can re-roll that now to whatever I want. So
yeah, you can go find yourself like a junk trash mod one.
Exactly.
And get yourself what you need, or you do what I do, and I just get it up to the epic range, and I'll probably, if I don't like what I see, I'll just re-roll the mods that I don't want until I get what I want.
And
That's one of the benefits of this Reengineering is that you can do stuff like that. And I have quite a number of stuff
yeah,
like
exactly.
some of the things I have is some of like the reputation weapons that I'm looking for to be able to reroll, because I might have like a crit D times 3, but I also might have like crit H or something that I don't care for, like ACC. You know, it's just real close to being exactly what I want it to be, but it's still so far away.
Yep. But one other big thing I will say, because we are kind of getting on a tangent, is I did submit a bit of feedback for you guys. I'm trying to get them to let us break down pretty much any item, including some of the rep items for salvage and everything. That way, if say we build a reputation set and we decide we just absolutely hate it, want to get rid of it, we can break that down. And obviously there'd be exceptions, such as consumables like batteries and maybe a few oddball stuff like that. I also suggested the spiral waves that you can get from owning a Galore or a Keldon, be able to re-roll and everything in the official thread.
I suggested that to you. It's something that can be done.
Oh, you know, great minds think alike and everything. But Bordicus did confirm that a lot of the stuff that I suggested is actually going to be happening. So, like, all of your lockbox weapons, stuff like that, will eventually be able to roll. Spiral Wave should be eventually able to roll. It's, with as massive of an inventory as items as the game has, it's just and Romulan Plasma, like Steve is saying in chat there, that's one that will eventually be able to roll. And in the Bugs Corner, I'll actually touch on a potential solution to that issue that they had talked about. But
Now,
yeah.
there is one thing that we didn't touch on, and that when you craft a weapon, the special crafting modifiers that could be applied, like pen, snare,
yes.
rapid, over. So it is important to know when when you look at it, that those mods are not rollable. If you get one of those mods on your weapon when you craft, stick with it.
Yep.
So
Now, from the way they
that
were
is something
talking,
that's important to know.
definitely, and everything, like Kirby's saying, it is important to know. One thing they did say was that you should be able to re-roll out of it at some point. They may just go ahead and lock those to the weapons. I don't know. Now, we can, like I say,
Currently, they're locked to the weapon.
Yep. We could go on about this for a while and everything. Like I say, go on there, test which weapons and everything. Try to load some stuff in, see what you can roll. I mean, we could go for another hour and a half at least on different things that you could load into the system.
Yeah. This one thing here, I could see myself just going on for a couple hours at least, talking about all the different things about it, the nuances, all the things I like to see it doing with it. But, basic sense of it, Reengineering, you get the mods you want to get on your weapons.
Yep.
And plus that, it's going to get built up because there's still a lot that's missing. There's still a lot that they can do with it. This could be a matter of time before they either figure it out or they say, nope, we're absolutely not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yep. But keep in mind... Oh, go ahead.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We've spent enough time on this one topic alone, so...
Yes.
But, speaking of other fun stuff going on at the moment, we have the Arena of Sompak that's been going on for the past couple of days now. This started on the 11th, will be running until the 15th, which is Monday, I believe. And this go-around, it's the same thing as we've been seeing from Sompak before. This is the weekend event version, so you've only got a few days to do it. You get the weekend event vouchers. And this go-around, it is a blast assault weapon, I think. Where's the exact name? It is the Sompak Blast Assault Weapon. I don't, you know what energy type it is by chance? Or is it an electrical?
Offhand, let me see, I believe it's electrical.
But while she's looking for that, you can see they've got different tiers of rewards depending on how far you can go. If you don't last at least 3 rounds, you don't get squat in terms of marks or dilithium reward. If you last 56 or more rounds, then you can get 163 marks. Then for dilithium, if you last at least 111 rounds, you get the full 5,700. Then crafting materials, if you go 91 plus, you get 1 normal plus 6 elite materials. So it's an interesting thing. It'll definitely let you put your ground builds to the test. That is for sure. Because you could go in there one time and you could just get easy enemies to start out with. And then you could, the next round, get surrounded by 30 Vothmechs or something like that. Which, by the way, take Sabotage in there. That'll help you out against the Voth big time. Especially if you're an engineer. But, yeah, so she's still trying to find the thing, but...
Yes. Wow, I think Boss Man's attacking his keyboard.
I'm not attacking my key. I was barely even tapping on it.
But, anyways, that's our big thing as far as this goes. This will be going to Monday. You've got 2 versions that you can do. You can do a timed version. That way, if you just want to see how far you can get in a certain time, or you don't want to spend, 40 plus hours in there, something like that. Then you've got the untimed, where you can see how far you can go. You've got, you need at least 3 vouchers to get the weapon and everything. But, yeah. So, comments on our song pack?
I'm getting onto a character that actually has it. So I had to get onto my...
And Steve's saying it is electrical damage.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve. My account is loading in.
Yeah, so electrical damage on that and everything, which... I'll say this much...
It beat me by 15 seconds.
I'll say this much for the song pack weapons, even though they are electrical damage, they're an interesting setup. But, anyway...
Yep, electrical.
Yep.
He beat me by like 15 seconds. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But it allows us to move on to our next item, which is the light up your colony, your general colony.
This is for our console
with
players.
The lamps for our console players. You can put the special project of street lamps on your colony, and it actually gives it a nice little ambiance, shall we say. So it improves the visual appearance and does seem to add them some light. I know I like light at night when I'm walking around the colony, even though the sun never goes down there. No, anyway. So, can also unlock... Okay. So, yeah, so lights, street lights, looks kind of cool. I mean, you don't have walls, you don't have doors, but, you'll have street lights. Which is a bit of an inside joke. But, yeah, I really like this project. I think it's kind of cool. Anyone else?
If you're somebody that likes to space Barbie your fleet,
Comments?
definitely go out there and pick this up.
There you
It's a decent little chunk of dill, but well worth it in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to type that out. I get everything that there is available for the projects and whatnot when it comes down to the special ones.
But
Yeah, I think most fleet leaders do, because generally it's appreciated, those little touches.
Yep. But anyways, moving along.
Alright.
we have featured episode replay.
Oh, that's
You're
probably
a boss man.
It's me.
It's me, Mario!
It's a me. So, the replay here, this is just the replay event. It's not necessarily the episode. So, for those of you who've done it in the past, what you basically are being sent around to do is go play some of the old episodes, replay them if you've played them already once before, and then from there, at that point on, you get certain rewards, certain bonus items, you know. It's kind of one of those things that they use as a means to make people go and do the older content instead of the new content all the time. You got some of the episodes that you're doing over again. You got Spectres that you go back and play, Cloaked Intentions, the 2800, which is one of the Dominion ones. So if you can stand Curlin one more time, go and do that one.
Curlin here.
Curlin here.
This is Carlin.
Cold War is another one that you go back and replay. And so you get unique items from these. If you haven't got them, this is your chance to get them and be able to get some pretty neat little items that you can have fun with, really. That's what it is.
Yep, you get things like the Ophidian Cane, the Shard of Possibilities lets you replicate yourself, basically. You get two extra copies of yourself, and Marine Tactical Bridge Officer.
And some of these rewards are actually pretty nasty depending on how you use them, especially that cane.
Yeah. And the cane, and even the shard possibilities you can put on bridge officers, and let them use them. It's kind of funny.
Oh yeah. Let's moving right along. We have an XP weekend for our console players. From January the 11th until Monday, January 15th, players will enjoy 2 times the normal experience of skill points and expertise than what they would normally otherwise have. So, if you're like me, if you're lazy with leveling your console tunes, this is a good time to do that. You know, maybe you've got some of those duty officer missions from some of the lockboxes laying around. You can crack those open, and you can get a hefty chunk of XP just from those. But, yeah, comments, thoughts on our weekend?
No, definitely you hit the nail on the head. Those XP projects they're killer on an XP weekend.
Oh yeah. But, anyways, for our console players out there, definitely get that grinding going on. Maybe you're looking for levels of a character, maybe you're looking for spec points, whatever it is, this is a great time to do just that. But, moving along, we have our patch notes for the 11th.
Yes, our PC patch notes for the 11th. So, of course, as we talked about earlier, the Arena of Sompek has returned. So you can run that once every 20 hours for the little weekend reward voucher. And again, also, as we talked about before, the featured episode replay event has returned. And they resolved an issue which is occasionally causing a crash when using the PvE queue system. That's all you need. Go to do an STF and crash. Also resolved an issue which was causing some videos, such as the beginning videos to the tutorials, to not play. With our systems, updated contents of the Infinity Lockbox to include items from the Sona Lockbox. Resolved an issue that prevented the console Universal Breen Energy Dissipator from being equipped on the Breen Plesh Trawl Heavy Raider, and resolved an issue that prevented the Stasis Beam 23rd Century and Photon Grenade 23rd Century kit modules from being available for use after upgrading them. Thoughts, comments?
Yeah, always good to see bugs get fixed.
Always, yes.
Yeah. Bugs being fixed is a good thing.
I just think that would really suck. You go and upgrade a couple kit modules and then you can't slot them again. After you upgrade, like...
Not that we've ever had weird stuff like that happen.
No.
And, yeah.
Us never, no.
It's not like we enjoy breaking things. Okay, maybe a little bit.
It's not like we ever come over to you and go, Chris, I broke it.
Yep. But, anyways, we will have that in the notes for you guys. Not really too much there as far as the notes go, but some pretty decent ones. Speaking of the Sona, we kind of already touched base on this one, but yeah, the Sona stuff is now in the Infinity Box.
Yay! More Infinity Box ships.
Yep.
And that's Boss Man's take on it. So yeah, everything that was basically pretty easy, everything that was in the Sona lockbox is now in the Infinity lockbox.
This is the tradition since they came with Infinity Boxes, and the Infinity Boxes is a great solution for people who didn't want to have to store in thousands and thousands of boxes so they can open them up later on when they get a bunch of keys and such. You know, I think between me and Chris, we have a fleet that might still have a bunch of boxes inside of it itself of these Infinity Boxes that we stacked up and stocked up on.
I think we've got, last time I took account, I think we've got a little over, I want to think 1,700? Something like that, of these boxes. I know we have at least a full tab and everything, and then I've got 2,000 more that I actually need to drop in there. So, yeah. Not that we're saying we have no life or anything. Okay, maybe a little, but... We're pack rats, what can we say?
But it wasn't just that we're pack rats, it's just that we looked at it and says, this is going to become valuable. Let's get a bunch of them. Do we have a fleet to put them in? No. Let's make one. Okay.
Yep.
That's basically that was that conversation.
That's pretty much how it went down, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, yep, and speaking of that, the promotion, I think it's currently going on. It will be going on until the 23rd. Let me see, I think it's... Let me look in the thing. Yep, the boxes are currently there. You can get a stack of 20 of them for 170 dilithium, which is actually dirt freaking cheap just for the boxes. But, yeah, moving along. We have, for PC players, the fish tanks in our colony, which I guess is mine.
Yes.
So, coming pretty quickly, I think this is actually active at the moment.
It is actually.
Oh, sweet. So
I just got them queuing it up. In fact.
Sweet. So you can see one of the things we could do to kind of pretty up our colony is to add fish tanks. Kind of see a little bit of the before and after everything. It's actually a pretty good sized tank, whatnot. But yeah, if you're somebody that, like we said with our previous project, you enjoy Space Barbie and whatnot, you like sprucing up your fleet as much as possible, this is something you're gonna enjoy. But
yes, it looks very pretty.
Comments? Anybody?
Actually, it looks pretty cool. I can't wait till mine gets done.
Yep.
I was thinking about just queuing mine up and getting it done right now. Well, it's queued up. I just gotta get it done.
Yep. But,
Get her done.
It'll take a little bit of dilithium to get it, but once you get it, it's something nice and everything to look at, everything. But yeah. But that's what we have for articles this week. I know we yacked quite a bit about the Reengineering, more than what we kind of intended to, but there was a lot to that one and everything.
I think that one was probably, out of all the updates that came out, was probably one of the most important updates that could be looked forward to because of the impact that it's going to have over on the game. It's going to change a whole lot of pricing when it comes down to anything. So it's got a whole lot to it, more than anything else, I would say.
Well, as far as pricing, you mentioned pricing. I think part of what's going to happen is those cheap beams that you see at Mark 7 and Mark 8, you know, the ones that didn't upgrade as far as they didn't change the rarity on them, I think those are no longer going to be posted. I think at this point those are probably going to turn into salvage trash, meaning that when someone who's crafting beams for profit and they get up to Mark 7 or Mark 8 and that first upgrade runs out, rather than posting those beams real cheap on the exchange, they're gonna just trash them for salvage, is what I think's gonna start happening.
I can definitely see it's gonna bring down prices on some of the higher up weapons,
but
like
yeah,
400
that was
million.
the other thing.
But
yes,
that's gonna come down. The lower end is probably gonna come up a little bit, but it'll bring the market back into balance, I think. But
yeah, that's what I think as well.
Moving along, we have our budget build of the evening. This is actually a budget build request. Everything. This is one that's kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop as far as trying to build it. But we have it is the Reconnaissance Multi-Mission Warbird. I'm not even going to try to say that Romulan name because I know I'll butcher it. But this is the Recon Explorer Warbird, the multi-mission one and everything that you get from the pack. And the user had requested a high-end build, wanted a little bit of science to it, but not necessarily science being the only thing that can deal damage. So we kind of went with a bit of a hybrid, a ship that can attack with its beams as well as dropping a heavy science load on their head as well. And kind of tried to balance it out somewhere in the middle. And the user did request that we use plasma weapons for this. And we have 6 weapons on the ship, and one of the big weapons we have is actually the experimental Romulan plasma weapon. This is one that you can pick up from Reputation for about 15,000 dilithium. So very, very cheap in terms of resource cost. And this was, before the change, this was one of the only weapons in game that did not eat weapon power. So if you were running a plasma build, then you had an advantage there. But even after the changes, it's still a great beam and everything to have. As far as the other beams that we have, the other 5 beams are the Fleet Plasma beams, the ones that we have here, the DMG3 Crit Ds and everything. But I may have flipped that around backwards on the stats, but anyways, point being, Fleet Plasma beams, they're pretty cheap on dilithium and everything. They're about 8,500, which isn't bad for a weapon. Then for the shields, engines, deflector, warp core, and secondary deflector. Now, there is actually a secondary deflector in the slot there. For whatever reason, there's not an icon. Now, this is the strategic inhibiting secondary deflector. This is the SA plus damage, energy damage, and EPG deflector. So,
do they still not have that in the shipbuilders there?
No, they don't have the icon. Not at all. They have the weapon, but not the icon. I know, it makes me want to slam or face desk too, but
I see what happened there, but
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's, which on their part, I do give them a little bit of credit. because it is a lot of stuff for them to have to have updated with everything that's come out as of late. And they're not actually guys that work for Cryptic. They're players like you and me that just enjoy the game and want to build something for players to use. So I do give them credit on that, though I do kind of wish that they would update a bit more frequently, if you know what I mean. But anyway, minor gripes aside and everything, as far as the deflector, the engines, that sort of thing, we did go with the Jim Hadar set, because this gives a bit of control expertise. This also gives a bit of drain to the ship as well, which can be very nasty with builds like this, especially if the user did want to try out Polaron at some point. But the Jim Hadar set, it's actually one that is split into two missions. You've got Bowley Bay Road, so you've got Curland here, and then you've got Operation Gamma to deal with, which means you're going to be flying a shuttle for a little bit. But overall, a great set, I think, one that's done me a lot of good. Then, because this set does not have a warp core, being that it's an older set and warp cores didn't exist at the time, we have to source one out, and this is a staple warp core that we use quite a bit, and I should have said Singularity Core for that, but let me correct that right quick. But the Temporal Phase Overcharged Core, let me go ahead and fix that. Singularity Core. There we go. Because we normally don't work, well, at least we don't usually do a lot of requests for Romulan ships, so I'm force of habit putting that one on there. But anyway, the Singularity Core and everything, it does the same thing as the regular Warp Core. In the form of the Warp Core Capacitor, you essentially get a Temporal Negotiator. Now, for those of you that were here for the Delta Recruitment event and everything, you're familiar with that device, as that's one of the rewards that you got for the event. And the Temporal Negotiator would cut your Bridge Officer cooldowns in half for the duration of the device, and you essentially get this in the Warp Core Capacitor. So you've got quite a bit that you could potentially work with here, and this, in my opinion, is one of the best Warp Cores you can get on a budget and everything. You could get Fleet Cores if you wanted to and everything, but to kind of keep costs down, stuff like that, I decided to go with the Temporal Phase, and because I think it would do just a little bit better in this case. As far as our consoles go, everything for engineering, we've got two universal consoles. We have a Delphic Terror Generator. This is going to boost our exotic damage that we're dealing with a lot of our science powers. The ship itself is a science-based ship, so we did give a lot of psi power to it, but we also wanted to give power to the weapons. And that's where our second console comes in, is the Bioneural Infusion Circuits. Now, this is the low-buy console that you can get, that's part of the Alachi set. This is a staple for a lot of builds. It's worth 25% critical severity at Epic just on its own, which is a pretty huge bonus that you're getting, and whatnot. Then, for our science consoles, we went with 5 of the particle focusers. 3 of them are the restorative variety, 2 of them are the exotic particle focuser variety. All 5 of them are EPG and Control X. This will give a lot of exotic power and everything, while also allowing for better control, such as from gravity well, things like that. Then for our locators, we went with 4 of the plus plasma locators, because duh, since we're using plasma weapons. And as far as the hangar bay, I left that blank because I typically like to think of pets as a personal preference. Everything, there's not really one winner-take-all best pet in my personal opinion. But, and as far as devices go, they are purely personal preference, but one that we do recommend is the Subspace Field Modulator. This gives a nice little defensive ability. It's around 25 all damage resist while it's active, and then it does debuff you for minus 400 protonic damage resist. So that is something to keep in mind if you use the Subspace Modulator. There's not a lot of enemies that use protonic-based damage, but there are enough of them to warrant mentioning that debuff. But that's what we have as far as the gear on the ship goes. Everything, and again, the secondary deflector, like I say, it is there. There's just not an icon. Alright, as far as the skills go, this is pretty much the standard thing, the standard build that we recommend. We did science it up just a bit. Or Romulan it up, I should say. We have 2 points into improved hull and shield capacity each, 1 into shield and hull restoration. We've maxed out our energy weapon training, 3 points into that. We have 2 points into EPS flow, 1 to impulse expertise. Then we've picked up our control expertise and drain expertise. We've maxed both of those out to get the maximum benefit from those stats, because we do have a lot of science potential to draw from with this ship, and that's just going to add additional stats in that area. Then we have all 3 points into targeting expertise. That's going to offset some of the accuracy penalty to firing modes like Thaw, Scatter, Volley, and Hose. Then we have defensive maneuvering. This is going to make the ship a lot harder to hit. Then we have 3 points into our hull platings. That's going to give us defensive value. And with a ship like this, you're going to be pulling a lot of threat, whether you want to or not. So you're going to want to have some defensive ability there. Then we have 2 points into shield hardness. This is going to reduce damage that our shields actually take. Then we've maxed out our weapon amplification and our weapon specialization, which is free hit chance and severity. Then we also have a point into defensive and offensive subsystem tuning. This is free power, which is always a great thing to have on a Romulan ship. Then we've maxed out our exotic particle generators. This is going to make a lot of our science powers stronger in terms of damage, such as our stabilizing resonance beam, our vortex, grav well, stuff like that. Maxed out our long-range targeting sensors. This greatly reduces the weapon drop-off penalty. Then you have your choice of hull penetration or shield penetration, depending on which one you want. You can actually make arguments for either one, so there is no right or wrong answer here, though as long as you have at least one of them, then you're going to do pretty good. Then our final 2 points, we've picked up warp core potential and warp core efficiency. This is going to allow us to pick up more power at lower power levels and everything for a bonus, which is going to be a good thing for a Romulan, because you start out with a bit lower power than most everybody else anyway. For specializations, we decided to mix it up just a bit here. We have Temporal Operative for our primary, because that has a lot of nice little sciencey based abilities to work with. And then we have Miracle Worker as the secondary, to give a bit of survival to the ship, kind of keep it middle of the road area. Then, for our traits, everything, there are some traits that we recommended as far as personal traits. We have the Accurate trait, that's going to offset our fall penalty more. We have Beam Barrage and Beam Training to increase our beam damage. We always like to assume that you've leveled at least one crafting school up with the character, and in this case we assume that it is the Beam school that you've chosen. Elusive for free defensive value, Fleet Coordinator for free damage based on team size. Then we also have our Invasive Control Programming, which whenever we activate a control effect, it can knock a subsystem offline. Romulan Operative, because duh. Then we have Ablative Shell. This is a money trait that we picked up. It, whenever it procs, it gives a little bit of a heal over time and damage resistance effect. And then finally we have Helmsman, which allows us to use evasive maneuvers more often and increases the turn rate of the ship a bit. So...
Now, I was going to say, I probably would have picked Psychological Warfare, since you are using a gravity well, and it increases the effect of your control effects, or of your control abilities. So it's just a flat increase. I probably would have put that in place of invasive. Maybe Accurate or yeah, or Invasive.
Yep. And we could definitely do that, because there are other sources you can use to pick up accuracy to offset the penalties and everything.
Right.
But, yeah.
But it is important to note that is a money trait.
Yeah.
So.
And it can be one of the more expensive money traits too, which
Yeah, it can be.
typically, and this is just my luck and everything. I'm not going to say it's like this for everybody, but usually I found invasive goes for a bit cheaper, whereas warfare can go for a lot higher. Like I say, you just kind of got to shop around a little bit with it. But that is a great trait to consider that Kirby mentioned. As far as starship traits go and everything, the Miracle Worker trait is supposed to be on the ship and everything as far as the builder goes. It's not actually in the builder yet, so I just put something in the notes section. And I'll actually go ahead and see if I can pull it up in-game for you guys. If I could... Buttons worth a crap today. But what the trait is supposed to do, it gives you increased shield and hull healing, and then if you heal a target above, while they're above 90% hull, they get extra maximum hit points for a short time. But then for the other starship trait we have the best defense. This gives your attack patterns a hull healing buff along with the normal effects. Now, for starship traits, the reason we use the budget traits here, the reason we stuck with mostly free traits and stuff, is we don't like to assume what people have in this area. Unless they specifically tell us, you know, hey, I've got access to this trait and this trait, if you want to throw them in there. We don't like to assume, because a lot of the starship traits are tied to C-store purchases or lockbox purchases, and we just don't like to assume and guess in that area, I guess is what I'm saying. But for our space reputations, we have the advanced target systems for free crit severity, Ox Power Offense for a damage boost depending on how high your Ox Power is, Precision for free critical hit chance, and then because we're using a lot of exotic based abilities, the Particle Generator Amplifier, because it is a decent little boost even in today's standards. Then for our active reputations, we have Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This is still a very nice AoE effect and kick in the pants to the enemy. We have Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is the little green ball you see people using in areas like ISA and other missions. It reduces the damage to your shields and increases the regeneration for a time while you're inside it. Deploy Sensor Interference Platform. This is a oh crap I'm gonna die button, is what it's best used for. You poof up a little sensor platform, and while it's active, until it either expires or it gets blown up, whatever happens first, it will taunt enemies off of you, and it will redirect some of their damage back at them in the form of a feedback pulse. This can be used to duck back, maybe get a heal off, get off a critical damage ability, whatever it is that you need to do. And then finally we have the Quantum Singularity Manipulation. This increases your science stats by 100 for the duration it's active, as well as gives a temporary cloaking effect. Now, to get the best bang for your buck with an ability like this and some of the ones that you have, fire off your Quantum Singularity Manipulation first, throw down any other exotic boosting abilities that you may have, follow up with something like a Gravity Well to group the enemies together, and then drop your Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity on top of them. And you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck that way than you would just cracking off Anti-Time whenever. But finally, this brings us to our Bridge Officer abilities. Now, we wanted to take advantage of the abilities that the ship has. So we did give a hefty science loadout, but we also stuck to some of the more traditional beam-based attacks as well. For this particular ship, you get a Lieutenant Commander Universal / Temp Ops, you get a Ensign Universal, Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Lieutenant Engineering, and a Commander Science. So for our first seat, this is the Lieutenant Commander Universal / Temp Operative seat. And we have our polarized hull in this case. This is a bit of a damage reducing power. Can let you get out of things such as tractor beams. Then we have our destabilizing resonance beam. This is picked up from the mission. I think it's the Blood of the Ancients is where we get this one, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly.
Yep, Blood of the Ancients.
Then we have recursive shearing, which, although this ability was changed, it's still a nice little damage ability and everything. So the more damage you do and everything, the stronger it's going to hit. So that's some of the good stuff there. For our Ensign Universal seat, we went with an engineering team. This is going to restore some hull, as well as purge certain debuffs, like the viral matrix that the Iconians like to use. Then we have Lieutenant Commander Tactical, and in this one, it's your standard basic seating. It's a Tactical Team 1, it's Beta 1 to debuff the enemy, and then our Fall 3 to smack anything within range with a beam. For Lieutenant Engineering, we have Emergency to Weapons 1, and then Reverse Shield Polarity 1. That's going to allow you to recharge the shields in a pinch. Then we have, on our Commander Science, we have Hazard Emitters 1. This is going to remove Borg Plasma Fires and similar such effects. Then we also have our Science Team. This is going to restore some of our shields and purge certain things like the Subnucleonic effect. And we have our Subspace Vortex 3. It's a nice little damaging power, as well as you can transport through the vortex to the location. Then you also have your Gravity Well 3, which is going to be one of your stronger controlling abilities and a high damaging ability with this as well.
Now, one of the tricks that I like to do on my science vessels is I'll throw out my Gravity Well first, and once everything's getting pulled in, then I'll throw out my Subspace Vortex. So everything that's getting damaged by my Gravity Well is now also getting damaged by my Subspace Vortex. And that's how you really maximize the damage that the Vortex can do.
Yep. And to answer the question as to why there's a lot in evasion, targeting, and that sort of thing, is the objective with the build was to not make it strictly science, but to also have the ability to attack with beams. Since you're going to be using Fa as a damaging power, you're going to want to have some accuracy there to offset that penalty. Then, as far as the evasion and stuff like that, with a ship like this, you're going to be drawing a lot of threat, whether you want to or not. And that's whether you're in threatening stance or not. So you're going to want to have some defensive power there in order to offset the aggro that you're going to draw. You want to make sure that while you're cracking this off, because a lot of these powers are zero distance abilities, such as Gravity Well, I think Vortex, ain't that one of them too?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm pretty sure DRB is as well. So as far as they're concerned, even if you're sitting back 9 kilometers away, you're right on top of them. But yeah, hopefully you guys can see what we're going with here. Like I say, this is just one way you could build the ship. You've got options with these multi-mission ships that are very versatile for science ships and everything. So, but yeah, any final comments on our build and everything before we look at costs and whatnot?
No, it's looking good.
Yeah, it looks like a build I would do in some ways.
Oh. Seems like we're doing pretty good there then, I guess.
He's used to one of us like picking at it somewhere.
Yep.
Well,
More than just, well, I would have chosen this tree.
you know, I mean, it's got the important things. You know, you got the Gravity Well, and then you got this is stuff like that that allows you to have that much fun with it. You know, so that helps out. I mean, there's always ways of doing things a little differently, and this is definitely one way of doing it with this ship. It's not necessarily a complete off the wall thing here, and like most of my builds. So I try not to suggest what I would do, because that's off the wall crazy stuff.
And the scary thing is, most of the time, what he puts together works.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
as far as overall costs from or for the build and everything, the most expensive thing, not surprisingly, was to get the binaural infusion circuits. At the current key price of $4,250,000, you're looking at 29 keys to get the low buy. That's assuming an average of 7 low buy a key. And overall, you're looking at $142,450,000 EC, which is actually one of the cheaper high-end builds we've put together. Then, as far as dilithium and everything goes, you're looking at around 9 days total build time, assuming only one tune is refining dilithium. That was around 66,000 dilithium, I think is what it came out to. So that gets you your experimental Romulan plasma weapon, that gets you your vulnerability locators, that gets you your particle focusers, and also your strategic secondary deflector. So overall, this is actually one of the cheaper builds we've put together for high-end. Believe it or not, but yeah. So, anyways, hope you guys can kind of see what we're going for with the ship and whatnot. Everything, it's one of the more interesting ones that we put together. I can definitely say that much. And let me actually fix the link now that I've corrected the singularity issue. But anyways, we're coming up on the bugs segment, and
adorable.
The big bug that I was going to mention was I loaded the Advanced Diffusive Tetrion Torpedo into the builder, and I noticed one of my mods was gone. So instead of having the 5 mods like it's supposed to have, I only had 4. Now despite that, the torpedo still did work. And very glad that you've enjoyed the budget build there, dude. It's one of the reasons we try to provide them is to give people ideas as to what they can do at different budget ranges. Everything. And also, welcome back to the game.
Yes, indeed.
Always glad to see people coming back. But,
There's been a lot of changes here, so, I mean...
Oh, yeah. You're coming back at an interesting time. Especially with Reengineering and the balance pass that's happened, all that stuff. So it's changed for the better, I believe. But anyways, the big getting back to the bug, the big thing that I've noticed with the diffusive Tetrion torpedo, like I said, is it was missing a mod. So instead of having 5 mods like it's supposed to have, it only had 4. Now this is where it presents the possible solution to the Romulan plasma issue and some of the lockbox weapons we were discussing earlier. One of the concerns that Bordicus and some of the other devs had put out there was that for something like, say, Phase Tetrion, as an example. The Phase Tetrion, because they're dual proc weapons, they're saying they would have to put the procs themselves in the system, but block the procs to the weapon. Now, what presents the solution is that the torpedo that I had, they could treat it pretty much like that torpedo, even though it was missing a mod. And the Tetrion torpedo itself is a dual proc weapon. It is a dual proc torpedo. It can pop either the diffusive Tetrion effect or some protomatter radiation. So it has 2 different procs that it can use there. And the solution would be to treat it like the torpedo in that case. The system can recognize the 4 individual mods, and it did not try to roll the procs. So there was no possibility of rolling out of the procs whenever I did it. So I think there's a potential solution there and everything, and I did pass that on to Bordicus and the crew, so hopefully they're able to throw some of the other lockbox weapons in there before it comes out. So that's one of the major bugs. I think Kirby had one.
Mine had to do with the Arena of Sompac. So this has actually been quite buggy this time around. So there's been, I know they fixed one of them. Was it yesterday you could log in and play on every tune on your account and get a reward every time.
Yep.
Each time you played on a tune, which was not the intention. So they fixed that. But, so now you can't view the countdown timer. So you have, unless you have good planning and whatnot, then you gotta kind of gamble on if you're able to get the reward. You know, you don't remember when you did it yesterday. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
It is one of the downsides. And a little minor bug, which I think they already know about this one, but one that I just found again is if you've got the Temporal Agent reward where you can get the Mark 13 Ultra Rares from Reputations starting out, then you notice this one with the Romulan rep. Now, for me, if I was to build a new experimental plasma weapon, it'll start out at Mark 13 Ultra. Well, the project says it starts at Mark 14, so little bit of a textual error there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I am continuing to work with the Reengineering system to test that for them, test it for you guys as well. Highly encourage you folks to get on Tribble, test that stuff out. And if you do have bugs, like I say, let us know, let the developers know. Come on to the forums and, post in the PS4 forums, Xbox One, PC, whatever your platform is, and tell them, hey, this is what I'm seeing. If you've got screenshots and video, that's even better. Because they don't like bugs any more than you or I do. Or tell one of these screwballs and they'll get it to me and I can see to it that the devs actually see it.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we do a good job of getting them issues.
It's a game to these screwballs at this point.
It is.
To see who can make me have a mental breakdown first, and whoever wins gets some sort of prize, and any time after that is double or nothing.
Yep.
Well, it's so high now, it's not even funny, man.
Yep.
It's bounced around so much.
I know, right?
Anyways, coming up on Teacher's Corner, what have you got for us this week?
Well, once I got the right video up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, oh no, see, there was a whole story because I've been sick, so I went and I actually recorded a first look at Reengineering. Well, when I went to put the video together, I put together the ultimate tech upgrade in the middle instead of the Reengineering.
Fail.
So then I labeled it Reengineering and, popped it up, and thankfully, thank you, Steve. Steve pointed out that, it's labeled first look at Reengineering, but then all you talk about is the ultimate tech upgrade, and I'm like, crap.
Because I don't get to do this very often. Kirby, you broke it.
Yes, I did. So if you saw the tweet on my Twitter that said, "Hey, wanna first look at the Reengineering system? Click here," and you went and it talked about the ultimate tech upgrade. Yeah, that I pulled stupid.
Speaking of Steve.
But Steve told me, and I uploaded the correct video right away. So the correct video is a first look at Reengineering. So I kind of go over it. I explain about the salvage and how to get the salvage and how much dilithium it costs and how this whole thing kind of works. Just a first quick look at it. It doesn't go too deep. So again, it's a first look, not a complete overview, but yeah, so it's about 17 minutes long, So if you were all like, huh, what are they talking about at the beginning? And completely lost when we were talking about the new Reengineering, check it out. Check out the video. That should help you with some of your, huh? What are they on about? And then come back and rewatch the first part of the video, and you might have a bit of a better understanding there. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Big thing I would say to keep in mind, everything with Teacher's video, with any other videos you're going to see, is the dilithium costs and the salvage are what they are currently. That could change before it hits solid deck. There's no guarantee that it will, but it is something to be aware of.
And that is one thing I said. This is on Tribble. This is subject. The prices are subject to change. The system is likely not to. But yeah.
But anyways, that's what we've got for you guys this week and everything. And we will have a link to all of this stuff in the notes once this episode goes up on YouTube. But anyways,
next week we'll be discussing Ultimate Tech Upgrade.
Well, yeah, you already know what next week's Teacher's Corner is going to be. I mean, so yay, previews!
Previews! Yay!
Mm-hmm. And this is also the last time that we will be able to meet in the winter event for this year.
Wonderland.
Well, at least until the next event rolls around, but
Hey,
definitely.
There's a snowman in my lap.
Gee, I wonder who that is. But anyways, folks, that's what we've got for a show this week and everything. Also, shout out to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool bunch of people with a very great radio program. You guys should definitely check them out. Everything.
I still gotta sit down with those guys.
Yes, you do.
I gotta sit down with the other group too.
Yep. But
Kurtang Pirate Radio.
Yep.
Yes.
And speaking of our other good friends, the Kurtang Pirate Radio, also a very another cool bunch of people. Definitely check those out. Very talented radio folks on both sides of Temporal Armada and the Kurtang Pirates. But, yeah, definitely check out their radio programs. You won't be disappointed. But also, if you have budget build requests and everything that you'd like to see us do, let us know what you're after. You know, say, hey, this is the ship that I want to do it with. This is the budget level that I have and everything. You know, it could be a bare bones. It could be a mid-range, a high-end, something like that. Everything. We do budgets for all sorts of levels, as you guys saw, and whatnot. You know, let us know what you want to do with the ship. Do you want to be a tank? Do you want to focus on damage? Do you want to do space wizardry? Or what do you want to do? And we'll help you out in that aspect. If you think that your gear and everything is in order, and you think maybe it's just your piloting, you want to improve there, feel free to submit a little video of your piloting to us through the website and everything and whatnot, and we will we'll help you out in that area. Just tell us what you're wanting to do and everything, and we'll help you out there. If you've got any bugs, like I said earlier, you know, feel free, let me know, let one of these guys know. We'll see to it that the devs actually see it. If you've got videos and screenshots, that's even better. But if you've got any request for Teacher's Corner, maybe there's something you're having a little bit of trouble with in the game, and you're just like, how do I do this? Then let her know. She does take requests and everything. And although he's not here, if you've got anything you'd like to see for the RP Corner, you know, drop Artie a message, let him know. He does take requests for that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And everything.
Artie is out with the flu, by the way. I know we didn't say so at the beginning.
Yep.
But Artie is out with the flu, so...
Yep. Artie is out with the flu, and I think Neela's had to work late again. He's... I know with this job he's had really weird hours as of late, so that's where Neela's been lately and everything, but definitely understand that. But anyways, that's what we've got for a show this week and everything. But thank you guys for joining us.
Yep.
And for now, folks, this is Pilot Review, and we are freezing on out of here.
Yep. Thank you, and make sure to pass on the word to other people. We are also planning on Las Vegas this year again.
Yep.
That's coming up.
But anyways, folks, for now, peace out.